of the House was in favor of it. It never got out of the House and on to the next committee or into the next floor for the Senate hearing because of paperwork failure on how it was applied. Wording in the paperwork, they said that prevented it from getting heard. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is we had a lot of success in our last legislative session, and we need to continue that up. And one of the best things that has happened since our last legislative session is the Republican Party has adopted 4 different platforms for reform on the marijuana level. So on the state level. So, well, that to us tells us that we have made tremendous strides in the legalization efforts and reform efforts across Texas. Local elections are just as important as whenever you elect your president or your next president. Local elections, your change starts on the local level. Whenever you get involved in local politics and with your community, that's how you make changes. And when everybody does that, that's when we make a state change. And when every state does that, that's when we make global change. So it starts right here in this room by you talking to your county officials, by you getting informed, educated, and making an informed decision about the candidates that will be running for the offices locally. As normal, we don't tell you who to vote for, but we will tell you the platforms that the particular candidate is running and their history of voting, if they have one, and let you make an educated decision whether or not you think this person is capable of representing you as a constituent, and you make a vote from there. So we're nonpartisan, and we don't try and push any political party or affiliation or idea on you. But what we do is encourage you to register to vote. And my wife and I both are Jefferson County voter registrars. And if you would like to sign up to vote, you may sign up to vote tonight. We have on the booth over there, we have registration for voting. We also, if you've noticed, when you walked in, there was a booth to the left. There's some information on the booth. We also have some free giveaways from Plus CBD, which they're one of the sponsors of our Hemp History Week this year. And we just want you to know that we are working towards local change, but we need your help. We can't do it alone. And this next election is very important for us to be educated, not only, like I said, on a state level and knowing who you're going to be voting for on a state level, but your local elections. And we like to bring candidates to our stage, to our platform, or to our audience. That way you can ask them questions in a setting that is on your terms. This is your chapter. So them coming to you and listening to your concerns and answering your questions is important to us, and it shows us that they're open-minded and willing to listen to the people. And that's exactly what we want for our representatives, whether it be, like I said, local or state. Now, for those that don't know about voting, the deadline to register to vote is October 9th. If you want to vote in this November 6th elections, you need to be registered to vote. Now, November 6th, there's a Hemp Fest that's taking place in Beaumont, Texas. Southeast Texas NORML is not a sponsor or affiliated, or we're affiliated, but we're not hosting it or sponsoring it. This is a hemp event which our national sponsors ask us to not combine the two movements. So we've always been, in the last 5 years that we've been here, we've always advocated for hemp on the same platform with marijuana legalization and reform. But there's a lot of confusion when people talk about, even today, I had a message today that somebody that was supposedly well knowledgeable in the hemp industry was talking about, well, everybody knows that hemp is just the male plant of cannabis. And I'm like, that's not correct at all. So, I mean, there's still a lot of misinformation out there that we need to educate about. The Hemp Fest is actually something that my wife and I have presented for our community to teach those that are interested exactly what CBDs are, what CBD is. There's no such thing as CBDs. There's no S on the end of it. It's cannabidiol, and there's cannabidiol in marijuana, and there's cannabidiol in hemp. So it's the same molecular structure. There's no difference. But one's legal and one's not as far as production and industrial use. In Texas, we don't have hemp available to grow on a pilot program, which means universities can't grow it, nor can the individual grow it for personal or for commerce. The only law we have in Texas that allows ingestion of cannabis-derived medicine is CBD oil, and that is only for intractable epilepsy. So we work, of course, to continue moving forward, but HempFest is directly involved with the hemp industry. The hemp industry is probably about 5 to 10 times bigger than the medical marijuana and recreational side of the cannabis industry. Industrial hemp could be used for everything from skincare to the bar and the building that we're in today. Hempcrete, we've been doing workshops and stuff like that with Hempcrete. Many of you are familiar with our Hempcrete workshops and demonstrations, and we've participated in Hemp History Week every year for the last 5 years. So we're very, very involved and very passionate about the hemp industry and what it can bring to not only farmers, but also to our state as far as revenue and export-import. The HempFest sponsors are TVM Hemp Wines and Canagenics. TVM Hemp Wines and Cocktails are going to have a tasting booth, and one of our main sponsors. But they make wines and cocktails made from hemp. And if you go on their website, which I've posted links to online, there's all kinds of different flavors and stuff. I'm really interested in trying that because I've never tried anything hemp like wine. I've tried hemp beer, but not hemp wine. Panacea Organics and Well You is another sponsor of ours. CBD American Shaman out of San Antonio. Canna Hemp out of Denver, Colorado, and Las Vegas, Nevada. And Down to Earth will also said they were going to join us. The reason why Down to Earth, not only do they have herbal supplements and so forth that you would find at your, regular store when you're going to find herbal supplements and dietary supplements, but they also provide Charlotte's Web, which is a CBD oil. They took it off their shelves in-house because of the way Texas is, CBD is still in a gray market right now. So they took it off the shelf, but you can order it online. So they're going to come to our Hemp Fest and set up. So we're hoping to have a few different local vendors as well come to the Hemp Fest, but mainly it's going to be CBD products and hemp products, industrial products. There's going to be a great selection. I mean, there's not going to be overwhelming selection, so you're not going to get bombarded, but there's going to be a good selection of different products and different administrative methods. We'll have a host of probably, I think there was 8 speakers that we've got that are very knowledgeable in the hemp industry and the CBD extraction markets, and they're going to come and answer any questions, talk to you, inform you that what the CBD industry or the hemp industry stands for. And it's not the CBD industry, it's the hemp industry. Hemp by itself, I mean, just the plant is a very vital and very needed for our self-sustainability. So, we also will have a few musical talents, bands, Danny Dillon Band and the Blackwater Revival. Those 2 bands have signed on to give us a little bit of entertainment throughout the day and in between the speakers and so forth. We are working on putting a panel together, kind of like a political panel, I guess, as you kind of look at it, but it's a questionnaire where you will have a few of the speakers on a panel where you can openly ask questions, and or you can meet with them privately. I know 2 of our sponsors will have a private consultation area where you go and talk to them about any illness or family member that you may feel they could benefit from the herbal supplements and dietary supplements that hemp industry can offer. Let's see here. Make sure we're through here. All right. Like I said, in the upcoming election, we've got not only local elections, but we've got state elections. Let's see. Who here, by a raise of hands, has been keeping up with the political stuff in Texas? Okay. At least you're honest. There's a few out there that are politically active. I do stress that we all be politically active. We all keep up with it. It's very important. If you're here tonight, that means you've taken the time out of your day to come down here and listen to me up here on the stage to talk about reform efforts. Then you should have enough time and the same drive to go and talk to a representative or a council or a candidate and make an educated decision and actually go and vote and be part of the political system. Listen to what's going on locally, listen to what's going on statewide, and be politically active. I'm not getting on to you, I'm just, that's how we change laws. That's how, marches and events are great for fundraising and for awareness, but they do nothing to change the law. Because of our effort, not our efforts, but normal efforts and other advocacy efforts, we went from 12% in the early 80s to over 86, 87% today for some sort of reform and legislation when it comes to marijuana. So awareness and fundraisers are great, and it does change the people's mind. But if we change the people's mind and we don't get them politically active, nothing's going to change, especially here in Texas. We don't have voter initiative. We have to rely on a representative to vote on a bill that comes before them. And if they haven't ever heard from us, how are they going to know how they should vote? They're only going to vote according to the people they hear from. So if it's just conservative, locked in, I'm not going to really try and place conservatives because I know conservatives that are open for cannabis reform. So I don't want to really define a certain category of people that would be against it, but there are people out there that would be against it. So we need to keep pressure on. Let's see. Okay, so in the political movement, Beto, who knows Beto O'Rourke? Raise your hand if you know Beto O'Rourke. All right. Who knows Ted Cruz? Everybody should know Ted Cruz. He's an elected official, and he is continuing it. Thank you. He is currently sitting as the Texas House Senate, Texas Senator. Yes, and I've watched his stuff over the years. I've watched how he's acted. I've watched how he's represented us, and I haven't been happy with it, in my personal opinion. You may feel differently with Ted Cruz. And I'm not going to tell you, like I said, we're not going to tell you who to vote for. But what I would like to do is kind of add some insight to each of the candidates that you haven't heard, because elections are important and they're coming up. Beto O'Rourke has made it a major issue in his campaign for marijuana reform and criminal justice reform. A major issue. Every time he's visited every 253 counties, 258? 258 counties in Texas, and every time he has a town hall meeting, that question comes up. That tells you about what the people want in Texas, and he answers it very well. I agree with how he stands, and he has also admitted to certain things in his past, and has accepted responsibility for them. Yada yada yada. Ted Cruz. The first time I think I remember hearing of Ted Cruz really doing something big was a filibuster that he did a few years ago where he read Dr. Seuss in front of the House. Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else thinks that's a complete waste of our time and legislative process, but me personally, not as an organization, but me personally, Corey, thinks that's a waste of time. But I'll tell you what, Cruz, some of the stuff that has actually come out of Cruz's mouth, quotes. So you make an educated decision whether or not he's on board with legalization. He said he doesn't personally agree with the legislation in Colorado.
You've got mail.
But it's up to states' rights, right? But if it was to come before him in Texas, he would not vote in favor. And he even criticized Obama for allowing states' rights, but he claims he believes it's something that states should decide. So why would he criticize the president if he was allowing the states to decide? He said he would also vote against it in Texas back in May of this year to a San Antonio reporter. So these aren't old comments, these are something rather new. And there's politicians, when it comes down to crunch time, that they will, if you ask them, do you support legalization of marijuana, or do you support site release, or do you support lowering the criminal penalties for possession, any one of those for reform issues, and they just say yes, that's not enough. It's election time. If they're talking to you personally and they're not on a public platform and they don't answer that, that's just blowing smoke. Unless they can tell you how they plan on doing it, you know, what they're going to do, how they're going to support it, and come out right publicly on it, then that's a politician's way of swaying the vote, telling you what you want to hear. And unless you press the issue and make him answer, him or her make them answer the questions, you know, you're not going to know whether or not they truly support legalization or if they're just saying that to get your vote. So press the candidates. Just don't ask them, do you support it? Find a concern, something that you believe in. I know everybody here has different ideas whether or not it should be legal, on what level, not whether or not it should be legal. Like you agree it should be legal, but on what level it should be legal. Some people say, you know, just medical. Some people say just recreational. So, you know, address one of those issues and get to the bottom of it. Get to find out whether or not he or she has answers to it, and whether or not they've done their research and can knowledgeably answer the question. If they can't, educate them. That's our purpose. That's why we're here. We are here to educate you so you can make a well-informed transfer of that information to your elected officials. We encourage you to do your own research on the stuff that we provide for you, because we want you to continue progressing and learning more about it. So now Abbott's, I believe he's going to be up there. He has not been for cannabis reform. And even if we get another bill that made it as far as we did with that 51%, Abbott could veto that bill, or he could make it pass back through the House and the Senate for a second vote. And if it goes back to the House for a second vote, we have to have 2/3 of majority, which is not just majority, but 2/3 of vote in favor of it. So if we've only got 51% and he passes it back through, it won't pass. So unless we do another huge drive and get a lot more, another quarter of the people, a quarter of our representatives on board. So we need a governor, of course, that's going to be more open to accepting criminal justice reform or marijuana legalization on medical levels or recreational levels, even if that's what you're here for. So, as we're talking about campaigns and local elections, we have a local candidate here with us tonight. Teach Rodman is going to be running for at-large city councilman for the Beaumont City Council. We've talked on several occasions, and I've invited him to our meeting because our push or our drive for site release here in Texas, which isn't allowing you to just get away with weed, it's still subject to the law for the possession charge, you know, however much it weighs. But you're not arrested the night of the offense. You're basically given a ticket like you are given a speeding ticket. You go before the judge and you handle your business. But in order for us to, and this is allowed by law. This is already allowed by Texas law. That was passed in 2007, and it allows an officer's discretion up to 4 ounces of marijuana. That's a QP. If anybody knows what a QP is, it's not that much. I mean, they may make it sound like that much, but it's not really that much. That's 4 ounces. If you are a medical patient and you need the oil from that plant, that doesn't reduce down to very much oil. So if you're transporting your medication before you've extracted it home and you get stopped, you're subject to go to jail and have your stuff confiscated, no matter how much, whatever you spent on it, plus the impounding of your vehicle, plus bail, plus the fines. It's ridiculous. And it wastes, on average, 4 hours per police officer to arrest somebody. And if anybody's been arrested for marijuana, an hour of that's on the side of the road, and there's at least 3 officers involved. So we're wasting a lot of taxpayers' dollars and resources and attention on arresting people. So city council, one of the ways we can get local change done is addressing our city council and changing local policies to allow site release. We can approach city council, and I've done all this stuff, research on getting a local proposition, I guess is what you would call it, put on the ballot, and the people would vote on it. But that requires so many signatures within like a 90-day period of residents in Jefferson County, or not Jefferson County, in Beaumont, to sign on to this, and then we would go before city council and show them that we've got the signatures. And then they would approve certain measures, the measures based on what we've laid out, and we'll work with the city council on further past that. Or we can have 2 city council members that are actually sitting on the board introduce it. Instead of having to get all those signatures, 2 people on the board can be like, this is a great idea, I can see where this can help our community, let's push this, and they'll introduce it to the board, and then they can vote on it. That's one of the fastest ways to get one of these policies pushed through. The other one is going door to door, knocking on people's door and getting a signature, which I'm perfectly willing to do. I'm willing to do that and go around and collect signatures on everybody that is willing to put their name down, that are registered voters, on site release, and collect 1,500 to 5,500 signatures, and then go before the city council and show them that this is how many people want it. And what that does is it shows the city council that that's more people that actually voted for them to get in office that want this. So if they push against it, we can have them replaced, because we have the numbers to go out and vote, because every one of the people that sign this are registered voters in Beaumont, and our next election you will be voted out. And that is something a career politician does not want to happen. They want to progress through their political career. They don't want to congress. I know there's always, progress, congress, what's the opposite of progress? Congress. Sorry. If anybody has been watching the Kavanaugh hearing confirmations, it's ridiculous. I'm not going to get into the political side of it, because I'll let my personal opinions persuade my opinion here and what I'm going to tell you. So if you do catch it, it's a crap show. It's pretty embarrassing. But so we've heard from several local candidates. A month or 2 ago, we had Mitch Tillerman. Mitch Templeton, sorry, thank you, Templeton, running for judge, and very open, very honest, very willing to answer any questions. So, let's see, so with our candidate tonight, I encourage you, be open, be respectful, listen, and if you have any questions at the end, feel free to ask him. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer any questions pertaining to his candidacy or his personal opinions. We want and need hemp and cannabis production legally available in Texas, and a local candidate's not going to do that, but like I said, electing the local officials and then working through that and actually being politically active, we can change something in 2019, which is coming up. We've got a chance to change something in Texas, and we can get hemp production, and we can get expanded medical cannabis. And with your help and participation, I know we can achieve it. So continue staying up to date with us with our